Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be tackling something that I think we can all relate to, and that's negativity.
Yeah,
But, we're not just talking about, like bad vibes here.
right.
We're going deep into how to really understand it and how to spot it. And most importantly, I think how to actually like deal with it effectively.
It's more crucial now than ever to equip ourselves with the right tools, for
Absolutely.
navigating this.
Yeah, and to kind of guide us on this negativity journey,
Hmm.
we have a source that I think is both, super popular, but also really insightful.
Okay,
It's a YouTube video by Shetty,
okay,
and he's not just like some random guru.
right.
By the way, this guy's a former monk turned like life coach, and he's got a huge following.
Yeah.
But what really caught my attention was how he framed the issue.
Hmm.
He said that like we are bombarded with more negativity in 24 hours now
Wow.
than people were in an entire lifetime just 25 years ago.
That is hard.
Can you even imagine?
Yeah, that's a staggering thought, isn't it?
It really is.
But it's backed up by some pretty startling statistics that he cites in the video,
Yeah.
like how 95% of news headlines are sensationalist, and negative news grabs 30% more attention than positive stories.
Oh, wow.
So it's
Yeah.
almost like we're hardwired to focus on the bad stuff.
It's true, yeah. And he even points out that it's even affecting kids.
Oh, wow.
They're feeling more anxious just because of like the news they're exposed to.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just us grumpy adults complaining about it.
That's true.
Like everything.
Exactly. And this actually taps into a fascinating psychological principle called negativity bias.
Okay.
And it's basically this idea that our brains are wired to pay more attention to threats and potential dangers.
Okay.
It's like an evolutionary leftover from our caveman days, when survival depended on spotting the saber-toothed tiger before it spotted you.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like now our
Yeah.
saber-toothed tigers are just, like stressful emails and doom scrolling on the internet.
Right, but our brains haven't quite caught up yet.
Yeah. They haven't gotten the memo.
While we can't completely eliminate negativity from our lives,
Right.
the key is to understand how it affects us and learn how to manage our responses.
That's a great point. And I think that's really where Shetty's advice gets really interesting.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't just tell us to like, you know, think positive.
Right.
He actually breaks down 7 distinct types of negative energy that we might encounter.
Wow.
And he gives us like actionable strategies for dealing with each one.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's almost like a field guide to navigating negativity.
I love that analogy.
You're right.
Yeah.
And before we get into those sort of like toxic types, there's something else that he highlights that I found really eye-opening.
Okay.
And it's this idea that like dwelling on negative experiences
Mm-hmm.
can actually make us less helpful to other people.
Oh, wow.
And he talks about a study that really kind of brings this point home.
Okay.
Do you remember the one where they made people write about like being bored or being wronged?
Yes, yes.
It totally blew my mind.
That was a good one.
But for our listeners who haven't, encountered that study, can you walk us through it?
Absolutely. So researchers divided participants into two groups.
Okay.
One group wrote about a time they felt bored,
Okay.
while the other wrote about a time they felt wronged or treated unfairly.
Okay.
Seems simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is what happened afterwards.
Okay.
Both groups were asked to help with a simple task, and the group who had dwelled on those negative feelings of being wronged
Yeah.
were a whopping 26% less likely to offer help.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it's not like they were asked to, donate a kidney or anything. It was
Mhm.
just like a really simple act of helping.
Exactly. And this highlights a crucial point.
Yeah.
Negativity doesn't just disappear.
Uh-huh.
It lingers and subtly influences our actions, even if we're unaware of it.
Wow.
Shetty calls this the emotional hangover.
I like that.
And it's something we all experience.
So you're saying like, even if we think we've moved on from a negative experience, still like kind of lurking in the background,
Totally.
potentially affecting our behavior.
Yes.
That's kind of scary.
It is a bit sobering, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the good news is that by becoming aware of this tendency,
Okay.
we can start to manage those emotional hangovers and prevent them from dictating our actions.
So how do we do that?
Well,
Do we just try to like ignore those negative thoughts and feelings altogether?
ignoring them usually doesn't work.
Okay.
Shetty suggests a more proactive approach, something he calls a mental intervention for negative thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Sounds intense, right?
It does sound kind of intense.
But it's actually quite simple.
Okay.
He uses the example of catching yourself thinking, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Something we probably all repeat to ourselves throughout the day.
All the time.
But instead of just letting that thought loop on repeat,
Yeah.
reinforcing the negativity,
Uh-huh.
he suggests adding a positive action to it. So instead of just, I'm so tired, it becomes, I'm so tired, and I'm going to take a long, relaxing bath tonight.
Oh.
Or, I'm so tired, and I'm going to prioritize getting 8 hours of sleep tonight.
Okay, so it's not about like denying the feeling of tiredness. It's about acknowledging it.
Yes.
And then also taking a positive step to address it.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from dwelling on the negative to taking action.
Okay.
Even a small action.
Yeah.
To improve the situation.
Okay.
Shetty calls this the if this, then that technique.
I like that.
And it's a really simple but powerful way to interrupt those negative thought patterns.
Yeah, it's almost like we're like hacking our own brains
Right.
to respond to negativity in a more constructive way.
Exactly.
But what about when the negativity like isn't coming from us? It's coming from someone else.
Yeah.
You know those people who just like seem to radiate negative energy?
Oh, yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about.
No matter what.
Those toxic types we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Shetty provides some really valuable insights into recognizing and dealing with those individuals.
Yeah.
He identifies 7 distinct types,
Okay.
each with their own unique brand of negativity.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Let's hear about these like negativity archetypes.
All right.
Who's first on the list?
Well, let's start with the complainers.
Okay.
We all know them. They can find a problem with everything and anything.
Yes.
It's like they're addicted to finding fault.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
It's like they just suck all the joy out of the room with their constant negativity.
Exactly. And Shetty emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries with complainers
Okay.
and gently redirecting the conversation.
Yep.
He suggests asking questions like, are you looking for a solution? Or is there something I can help you with?
That's good because then it forces them to either like take ownership of the problem
Right.
or admit that they're just venting.
Exactly.
And if they are just venting, then you're not obligated to be their captive audience.
You got it.
Yeah.
You can politely excuse yourself or change the subject.
You have the right to protect your own energy and emotional well-being.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for fixing everyone else's problems.
Absolutely.
And sometimes just changing the subject or shifting the focus
Yeah.
can break that negativity spiral.
Okay. Complainers dealt with.
All right.
Who is next on Shetty's negativity hit list?
Okay, next up we have the cancelers. Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, we were just starting to dive into Jay Shetty's toxic types, those people who always seem to have a cloud of negativity hanging over them.
Yeah, and we had just finished tackling those complainers, right? Always ready with a problem.
Oh, absolutely. Always ready with a problem for every solution.
Yeah.
But there are 6 more
There's 6 more.
to unpack.
Okay, let's keep going. It's next.
Next up, we have the cancelers.
Okay.
And those are the people who just always seem determined to find a negative spin on everything.
Ugh. I know exactly what you mean.
Even good news or compliments. Yeah, it's like you try to give them a genuine compliment. Like, hey, you look great today. And they're like, oh, so I didn't look good yesterday.
Exactly.
It's like they can't just accept anything positive at face value. They have to turn it into something negative.
And like their default setting is find the flaw.
Yeah.
Even if it means kind of twisting things around. And Shetty suggests that this behavior often stems from like deep-seated insecurities.
So it's not really about you. It's about their own struggles that they're kind of projecting outward.
Exactly.
Okay.
They might be projecting their own self-doubt or their own fear of vulnerability
That makes sense.
onto you. And so what's important to remember is that their negativity is not a reflection of your worth.
Okay.
It's more about their own baggage than anything you've done.
That is a great point because it's easy to take those things personally.
Yeah.
But if you understand where it's coming from, then it's a little bit easier to detach from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can't change their behavior,
Right.
but you can choose not to internalize their negativity.
So acknowledge their comment,
Right.
but don't let it kind of chip away at your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Shetty also suggests something interesting here.
Okay. What's that?
He says check in with yourself and ask trusted friends or colleagues
Okay.
for feedback on your positive qualities
I like that. That's a good idea.
so that you can counterbalance that negativity
Yeah.
with affirmations of your strengths.
It's like building a shield of positivity to deflect those negativity arrows.
Love that analogy.
Okay, so we've got Complainers and cancelers down.
All right.
All right.
Who's next?
Next up, we have the casualties.
Okay.
And these are the people who truly believe the world is against them.
Ah, the perpetual victim.
Yes.
I've definitely encountered a casualty or two in my life.
It's always someone else's fault.
Yeah.
Never taking responsibility for their own actions.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really have a rational conversation with them because they're just so convinced that everyone's out to get them.
It can be incredibly draining, and it's tempting to get caught up in their drama.
Yeah, and try to rescue them.
Right.
But as Shetty points out, enabling that victim mentality doesn't help anyone.
Okay.
And the most helpful approach is to gently guide them towards taking ownership.
So instead of trying to, fix their problems for them, you should encourage them to find their own solutions.
Precisely.
Okay.
Shetty suggests asking them empowering questions like, what's one thing you can control about this situation?
Uh-huh.
Or what steps can you take to improve things?
So shifting their focus from what they can't control to what they can control.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about empowering them to become active agents in their own lives,
Right.
rather than passive victims of circumstance.
Okay. Casualties check. Who's next on our negativity safari?
Be ready for the critics.
Critics.
Yeah, these are the people who are just quick to criticize every decision you make.
Oh, I know them well.
Even the fact that you haven't made a decision yet.
It's like they're always lurking, ready to pounce on any, perceived flaw or misstep that you make. They always seem to have an opinion
Yes.
on how you should be living your life.
And it's like they always have an opinion on how you should be living your life, even if their own life is a complete mess.
Their criticism can really sting,
It does.
especially when it feels personal.
Yeah.
But what's important to remember is that their judgment is often a reflection of their own values and insecurities.
Okay.
Not necessarily a true assessment of your choices.
So how do we deal with those critics? Do we just try to ignore them and hope they go away?
Ignoring them might be difficult,
It can be.
especially if they're people you have to interact with regularly.
Right.
But you can choose to not engage with their criticism.
Okay.
So acknowledge their opinion, but don't internalize it.
So it's about not letting their words define you or dictate your actions?
Exactly. Shetty also emphasizes the importance of staying true to your own values and priorities.
Okay.
He asks, what is your value? What is important to you? What is meaningful to you? That's such a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to please other people
Right.
that we forget to check in with ourselves and ask, what do I actually want?
It's all about tuning out the noise
Yeah.
and staying focused on your own internal compass.
Uh-huh.
You have the right to disagree and to make choices that align with your own values. Great.
Critics check.
All right.
We're making good progress through this negativity menagerie. Who's next?
Let's move on to the commanders.
Okay.
You often find these individuals in work settings.
Uh-huh.
They're the ones who pressure you to constantly do more, achieve more,
Okay.
even though they might not be putting in the same level of effort themselves.
Oh, the classic overbearing boss or colleague who's always pushing you to go above and beyond, but doesn't really offer support or acknowledge your limits.
Right, and what's interesting is that Shetty points out that commanders often project their own insecurities and ambitions onto others.
Okay.
They might be driven by a fear of failure
Right.
or a need to feel superior. Yeah, so how do we navigate those commanders without, burning out or sacrificing our own well-being?
Boundaries.
Boundaries, okay.
It's essential to establish clear boundaries and communicate your capacity realistically.
Okay.
You have the right to decline additional tasks or responsibilities if you're already at capacity.
It's about knowing your limits and not being afraid to say no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your worth is not tied to your productivity.
That's true.
And you are allowed to prioritize your own needs and well-being.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance between meeting your obligations,
Okay.
but also protecting your own mental and emotional health.
Commanders conquered. Who's next on our negativity hit parade?
Get ready for the competitors.
That's the competitors.
You'll recognize these individuals by their constant need to one-up everything you say or do.
I know those people too. It's like
Yeah.
they just turn every interaction into a competition.
They turn every interaction into a competition, even if you're not trying to compete.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. You can't just have a normal conversation with them.
It can be so draining. Shetty suggests that this behavior often stems from a deep-seated sense of insecurity.
Interesting.
They might feel threatened by your accomplishments
Okay.
or simply lack confidence in their own abilities.
So how do we deal with those competitors without getting sucked into their games?
The key is detachment.
Detachment.
You don't have to play their game.
Okay.
Acknowledge their comments,
Right.
but don't engage in a one-upmanship battle.
Right.
You can simply let their words roll off your back.
So it's about not getting caught up in their need for validation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Focus on your own accomplishments and goals
Okay.
without feeling the need to prove yourself to them.
Yeah.
Their behavior is more about their own insecurities
Right.
than anything you're doing.
Competitors neutralized.
Right.
We're down to the final toxic type on Shetty's list.
Last, but certainly not least, we have the controllers.
Oh, the controllers.
These individuals tend to act as if they have ownership over you and your choices,
Oh, I've definitely encountered my fair share of controllers.
rather than respecting your autonomy and boundaries.
They want to dictate everything. Who you spend time with, how you spend your money, what decisions you make in your life. It's like they want to live your life for you.
Their behavior can be suffocating
It is.
and emotionally draining.
Yeah.
It's important to recognize that you have the right to make your own choices
Mm.
and live your life on your own terms.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with those controllers without letting them completely control us?
It's a good question.
Shetty emphasizes the importance of establishing firm boundaries
Boundaries are key.
and asserting your independence. You have the right to say no to their demands and to make choices that align with your own values and goals.
But what if they don't respect those boundaries?
Well, Shetty suggests that if their controlling behavior becomes obsessive or overly focused on limiting your freedom,
Okay.
it might be necessary to take strategic steps
Okay.
to distance yourself from them.
So sometimes the healthiest option is just to create some space between yourself and the controller.
Exactly.
Okay.
Protecting your emotional well-being is paramount. If their controlling behavior is causing you significant distress or preventing you from living authentically,
Yeah.
it might be time to reevaluate the relationship.
Wow. These toxic types really run the gamut.
They do.
It's amazing how Shetty manages to categorize these different negative energy patterns so clearly.
It's insightful, isn't it?
It is.
By recognizing these patterns,
Yeah.
we can become more aware of the dynamics at play in our relationships
Yeah.
and develop strategies to protect ourselves from negativity.
Okay, so we made it through all 7 of Shetty's toxic types.
We did.
That was quite a journey.
It was a journey.
But I think we're all better equipped now to handle these negativity ninjas.
We got a whole arsenal of tools and strategies to navigate those tricky encounters.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a little bit because we've talked a lot about reducing negativity.
Okay.
But what about actually cultivating positivity?
Great question. Shetty talks about something he calls the negativity detox, which sounds pretty intense.
It does sound kind of intense. Is he talking about moving to a remote mountaintop and meditating 24/7?
Not quite.
Okay.
He emphasizes that it's not about eliminating negativity entirely,
Okay.
because let's face it, that's impossible.
We live in the real world.
We live in the real world, and challenges and negativity are just part of the deal.
Trying to avoid negativity altogether is like trying to avoid breathing.
Right, it's just not realistic.
It's not going to happen.
It's more about becoming aware of the sources of negativity in your life
Okay.
and making conscious choices to limit your exposure.
So it's like being a negativity detective.
Exactly.
Identifying the culprits and then figuring out how to minimize their impact.
Start by paying attention to how you feel. After you interact with certain people,
Right.
consume certain media, or engage in certain activities,
Okay.
ask yourself, do I feel drained, energized, anxious, inspired?
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you consistently feel negative after watching the news, maybe it's time to limit your news consumption,
Right.
or at least be more selective about the sources that you're choosing.
And if scrolling through social media leaves you feeling inadequate
Right.
or envious,
Yeah.
maybe it's time to unfollow those accounts that trigger those feelings.
It's all about taking ownership of your emotional environment. You
Yeah.
get to choose what you let in and what you keep out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of taking ownership,
Okay.
remember those toxic types that we discussed earlier?
Yes.
If you realize you're spending a lot of time with someone
Yeah.
who falls into one of those categories,
Yeah. It might be time to set some boundaries.
exactly.
And we're not necessarily talking about cutting people out of your life completely,
Unless they're truly harmful.
right? Unless it's a truly toxic relationship, but you can limit your interactions.
You can limit your interactions.
You can choose to engage in more positive activities together.
Yes.
Or even just mentally prepare yourself
Right.
before you interact with them.
It's like putting on your emotional armor before stepping into battle.
Exactly.
Definitely.
You know what to expect and you've got your defenses up.
You got it. And remember, you always have the right to say no to things that drain your energy.
Yeah.
You're not obligated to attend every social event,
Right.
watch every news report,
Well,
or scroll through every social media feed.
you get to choose where you direct your attention,
Right.
how you spend your precious time and energy.
And by being mindful of those choices,
Yeah.
you can create a more positive and supportive environment for yourself.
Okay, so we've talked about how to reduce the negativity in our lives,
Yes.
but what about actually cultivating positivity?
That's the fun part. Shetty talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uplift you
Okay.
and inspire you.
I like that.
People who make you feel good about yourself.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad.
Yeah.
People who believe in you and support you,
Exactly.
even when you're doubting yourself.
Think about the people in your life who make you laugh,
Yeah.
who encourage you,
Yeah.
who challenge you in a positive way.
Uh-huh.
Make an effort to spend more time with them.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to reach out and make new connections with people who share your values and your interests.
Those connections can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And when you surround yourself with positive, supportive people,
Yeah.
it's like you're creating a force field of good vibes.
I love that.
Yeah.
So beyond just like the people in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
what are some other ways we can cultivate more positivity like on a daily basis?
Shetty is a big advocate for the power of gratitude.
Okay.
He suggests keeping a gratitude journal
Okay.
where you write down 3 things you're grateful for each day.
Oh, I like that.
It could be something as simple as a sunny day,
Uh-huh.
delicious meal,
Right.
or a kind gesture from a stranger.
Yeah, and just that act of focusing on the good things in our lives can actually shift our perspective
Right.
and make us feel more positive overall.
It's like training our brains to notice and appreciate the good stuff
Yeah.
instead of dwelling on the negative.
And speaking of training our brains, mindfulness meditation can also be incredibly helpful for cultivating positivity.
It can.
Okay, mindfulness meditation. I'll admit it's something I've always wanted to try, but it seems a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Like I always picture myself like sitting in lotus position on a mountaintop, chanting,
You don't have to go full-on yogi to reap the benefits of meditation.
Okay,
There's so many great resources available these days.
okay.
Apps, guided meditations, online courses.
Yeah,
You can start with just a few minutes a day
okay.
and gradually work your way up.
What are the benefits in terms of negativity? Like, how does it actually help?
Well, meditation helps us become more aware of our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Right.
It's like we're stepping back
Okay.
and observing those thoughts and feelings
Uh-huh.
without getting swept away by them.
So it's about creating that space between ourselves and the negativity.
Exactly.
So we can choose how to respond rather
Right.
than just reacting impulsively.
Exactly. And over time,
Okay.
regular meditation practice can help us develop a greater sense of calm,
Okay.
clarity,
Uh-huh.
and resilience
Yeah.
in the face of challenges.
So we're less likely to get caught up in that negativity spiral
Right.
and more likely to respond to challenges with a sense of like peace and composure.
You got it.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered surrounding ourselves with positive people,
Yes.
practicing gratitude,
Yeah.
and exploring mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
What other positivity power-ups does Shetty recommend?
I'm feeling more energized already just talking about all these strategies for cultivating positivity.
You too. It's amazing how much control we actually have over our emotional environment.
It is.
We're not just passive recipients of negativity.
Right.
We can actively create a more positive and joyful experience for ourselves.
Okay, before we wrap up part 2,
Yeah.
I want to bring it back to our listeners and give them something tangible to take away from this conversation.
Always a good idea.
What is one thing that they can do today
Yeah.
to start creating a more positive environment for themselves?
Yeah.
What's one small actionable step?
You know, there's one simple practice that Shetty mentions that I think is perfect for this.
Okay.
He talks about the power of starting each day with a positive affirmation.
Oh, affirmations. I've heard about those, but I've never really tried them. Do they actually work?
They can be incredibly powerful for shifting our mindset
Okay.
and setting a positive tone for the day.
So how does this work? Do you just stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself how awesome you are?
You can definitely do that,
Okay.
but it doesn't have to be so grand.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as choosing one positive phrase or statement that resonates with you
Okay.
and repeating it to yourself first thing in the morning.
Can you give us like a couple examples of positive affirmations that people could use?
Absolutely. Here are a few to get you started. I am capable. I am worthy. I am strong. I am grateful. Today is a new day full of possibilities.
I love those.
Yeah,
It's about choosing something that feels uplifting and empowering to you.
exactly. And by repeating that affirmation to yourself,
Yeah.
you're priming your mind to focus on the positive.
It's like setting the intention for the day,
Yeah.
choosing to approach the day with a positive mindset.
You got it.
Okay.
You're starting your day with a positive affirmation,
Yeah.
and that can have a ripple effect throughout your entire day.
I love that it's simple yet powerful.
Yes.
Anyone can do it, no matter how busy their schedule is.
And it's a great reminder that we have the power to choose our thoughts and shape our experiences. We're not at the mercy of our circumstances.
Right.
We can actively create a more positive and fulfilling life for ourselves.
Okay, folks, that's a wrap on part 2 of our deep dive into navigating negative energy.
Yeah,
We covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to explore.
that's right. In part 3, we'll be talking about something called the positivity ripple effect.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. What can our listeners expect?
We'll be discussing how our own positivity can actually inspire and uplift others,
Okay.
creating a chain reaction of goodness in the world.
Oh, I like
It's
that.
a powerful concept,
Okay.
and we can't wait to share it with you.
Stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And we are back for the final part of our negativity deep dive. But we're ending on a high note. Remember that positivity ripple effect we talked about before.
Yes, we're not just talking about feeling good ourselves, but how our own positive energy can actually spread outwards and influence those around us.
Okay, so like when you're in a good mood, it's contagious. I've definitely experienced that. Like being around someone who's like genuinely happy and upbeat can totally like shift my mood.
You're spot on. It's not just a feeling. Our emotions are literally contagious.
Wow.
So when we radiate positivity, it really does impact those that we interact with.
And on the flip side, being around negative people can really drag you down.
Oh, absolutely. Misery loves company, as they say.
So true. But thankfully, positivity works the same way.
It does.
So when we cultivate like our own inner sunshine, it's like we become these walking mood boosters, just spreading good vibes wherever we go.
Spreading the good vibes.
Wait, so you're saying we can actually like make the world a more positive place just by like being more positive ourselves?
That's the idea. It might sound a bit too good to be true, but there's actually science to back it up.
Really?
Studies have shown that positive emotions can literally be contagious.
No way. Tell me more about that.
Okay. Well, researchers have found that when people are exposed to positive emotions, they're more likely to experience those same emotions themselves.
Interesting.
And they're also more likely to be helpful and kind to others.
So it's like this chain reaction of goodness. Like one person's smile can spark a whole wave of positivity.
Exactly. And the more we each focus on cultivating our own positive energy, the more we contribute to that chain reaction.
This is making me think about like random acts of kindness, like when someone pays for your coffee or holds the door open for you. It's like those little things can really make someone's day.
Absolutely. And not only that, but they often inspire the recipient to pay it forward.
Right.
So then you're creating a ripple effect of kindness.
It's like what goes around comes around, but in a positive way.
I love that. And it's a reminder that when we choose to focus on the good and spread kindness, we're not just making ourselves feel better, we're contributing to a more positive and compassionate world.
So we're not just talking about like personal growth here. We're talking about being like agents of positive change.
Precisely. Each act of kindness, each positive interaction, each moment of joy we create and share, it all adds to that ripple effect.
This is so inspiring. It's like Shetty's giving us permission to be more optimistic and more hopeful and to believe that we can actually make a difference.
Exactly. It's a powerful antidote to all that negativity we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that even in the midst of all the challenges, there's still so much good out there.
And we have the power to choose to focus on that good and to amplify it and to spread it to others.
You know, as we wrap up, I'm reminded of a quote from Shetty that really struck me. He said, "You're never going to be able to surround yourself with 100% positivity. You're not going to be able to make your whole life perfect and peaceful because naturally every single day there'll be challenges thrown at you."
Yeah, that's real talk. Life's messy. We can't just wish away the tough stuff.
Right. But then he goes on to say, what we're trying to do is find calm in the chaos, to find peace in the madness. And that's the key. It's not about living in a perfect bubble. It's about developing the inner strength and resilience to navigate the ups and downs with grace and optimism.
It's about choosing to find the good even when things are tough.
And knowing that even amidst challenges, We have the power to choose positivity, to spread kindness, and to make a difference.
This has been such an incredible journey. We explored the depths of negativity, but I think we've come out the other side with a renewed sense of hope and a whole toolkit of strategies to deal with it effectively.
It's empowering, isn't it? Knowing that we can choose how we respond to negativity and that we have the power to create more positivity in our lives and in the world.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, as you head back out into the world, remember, you have that power within you. Choose positivity, choose kindness, choose to make a difference.
And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Each small step towards positivity creates a ripple that spreads outwards.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into navigating negative energy. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.